Hi there, this is Jacob Nash Algebra Lessons. This is Unit 3, Lesson 10, on completing the square. So completing the square, what is that? Well, it's just another way that you can find your x-intercepts. Remember, other ways that we've learned so far is factoring and quadratic formula. So quadratic formula always works, factoring doesn't always work, and completing the square doesn't, well, it usually works. It's hard to explain, but we'll get to that. So, let's say we have the equation 2x squared plus 4x plus 3. How do we solve this? How do we find what x equals? X is going to equal two things, once again, because of the squared, because when the only way to get x by itself is to take the square root, and when you take the square root, there's always two numbers. Here's what you do. First thing to do is set it to equal 0, because you're trying to find your zeros, aren't you? Here's why, because there's technically a y there, and anytime you have an x-intercept, y is 0, so that's why we set it equals 0, because we're assuming y is 0. That's how we find the x-intercepts. Okay. Alright, so here's the first thing you do. Subtract, remember, this is A, this is B, this is C. That, watching Lesson 8 would help that. So we subtract C on the other side. So now we have 2x squared plus 4x equals negative 3. Then we take B, which is 4, and you do B divided by 2 squared. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So that number that we use, you add to both sides. So this side and this side. So we'll add it to both sides. So now we have 2x squared plus 4x plus 4. And then negative 3 plus 4. Now what do you do? Now you have two parentheses. You have x, and then there's two other things you have to put. You have to put a sign and then a number. The sign that you put is the sign of b, which is positive. Both are positive in this case, but if this one happened to be negative, actually that wouldn't happen because it's squared. But if this one happened to be negative, then you would make it negative. Then you do the square root of this, which is now c, which is 4, so that's 2. And you make it squared. Then you just simplify on the other side, so negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Then you take the square roots of both sides. Then you have x plus 2 equals plus or minus 1. Because remember, when you take the square root of something, plus or minus. So now you have to move this on the other side so that x is by itself. And now you have x equals negative 2 plus or minus 1. So now we have two different equations. X equals negative 2 plus 1. And x equals negative 2 minus 1. So our zeros are going to be negative 2 plus 1, which is negative 1, and negative 2 minus 1, which is negative 3. So our two zeros are negative 1 and negative 3. And if we weren't to plug these into the equation, we would get 0 as our answer, because we set it equal to 0, and anytime you have an x-intercept, y equals 0. That'll be it for this video. I hope this made sense. Maybe rewatch it if it didn't. And I'll see you on the next video, which is going to be on graphing quadratics. Thanks for watching.